Hey everybody, it's Treetop here. Thanks for tuning in. We're back at the reloading bench, and the topic of the video is going to be the latest offering from Lee Precision. It is the Ultimate Turret Press. And I've had this thing, I ordered about 2 weeks ago from Titan Reloading because they had the best price. So far, nobody has had all of the accessory turret heads in stock. So there's a 4-hole and a 6-hole that you can get with it. I haven't been able to get my hands on them from one place where I could just combine them in shipping, and I don't want to pay for shipping from 2 different places. So I just have the 5-hole that it came with. So anyway, I've been trying to do a video on this. I've been out here. You see my workspace is a mess because I've been experimenting and measuring and checking things and see what I think of it. And I've been trying to do this video, and I keep getting so granular on it that it's a really long video, and I don't even want to make it, and I know nobody's going to want to watch it if it's that long. So I think what I'm going to do is break this up, and I'm just going to start with an overview video, and then you guys could tell me maybe in the comments what you want to watch or what you want to see or what you're curious about, and I'll try to answer those questions because you guys always come up with stuff that I didn't think of. So maybe this is a better way to do it. I'll just give you an overview, what it is, and then in the next video, I'll tear it apart and show you more detail. So the kit that I purchased is the Barebones kit. It's 91910, total bare bones. They do give you this little basket catcher kind of deal. It comes with a 5-hole turret. It comes with these little, they call them smart breech lock bushings, but it comes with a full set of 5 breech lock bushings to get you started that way. I didn't actually need that because I've already got dies and breech lock bushings, but it's nice that they start you out that way in the Barebones kit. You also get a Lee safety prime, large and small. They give you one primer tray, give you a breech lock bushing wrench, 2 priming levers, and an Allen wrench to take this apart. So not a lot of stuff, but enough to get you going in the Barebones kit. This press can also come kitted like they do the progressive press. So you can get one all set up with, like for 223, powder through die, powder measure, the sizing die, seating die, crimping die, what else? Inline bullet feeder. That's kind of a big deal. So that's one way it's offered. On Lee's website, it's $100 more, but probably retail is probably going to be about $75 more. So for some people, that might actually be a smart move. It's in a bunch of the pistol calibers so far and one rifle, which is 223. So keep an eye out for that. That might make sense for some. For me, the Barebones kit was all I needed. All right, so my first impression taking this thing out of the box is it's pretty big. It's quite a bit larger than the Lee Classic turret press. It is very robust. You're not going to, at least in some aspect, is be the last press you need to own if in terms of its durability and strength. Guys, like I said, this thing is built. It is solid steel everywhere. The only thing that isn't steel is the turrets and the primer lever. And then there's a little bit of non-structural plastic around the outside. There's this tool hanger thing they put on here, and that ends up being your support bracket for your Lee Safety Prime, kind of all molded in. Down here, you got a little plastic for the chute, and it also houses your clutch assembly. It looks like they have used the base. They kind of have a tradition of doing this, but they use the base from the 6-Pack Pro, which is their giant progressive press. And these levers down here were taken from the 50 BMG single stage press. So they're going to have a lot of strength and a lot of leverage. The ram is 1.1 inches, and this is probably the tightest ram to base fit I've seen on any press of any brand. So I'm really impressed with that construction. The other thing I want to get in here is, I'm not sure if I said it before, but these breech lock bushings, this will use all the breech lock bushings they've ever made. So these old steel ones, I got a bunch of those. You can mix and match. You don't have to worry about that. It has a pretty generous opening here. According to literature, while keeping the auto indexing feature intact, you can do up to a 3-inch cartridge. If you take the auto indexing lever out and just manually index it, you can do up to a 4-inch cartridge. Now, looking at my book, I think that pretty much covers the all of it, except for maybe the 50 BMG, but it's going to cover a bunch. So as far as the press capability goes and size, you're not going to be limited with what you could do with it. So really, a turret press is kind of your first level of convenience in reloading, as opposed to a single stage press. Nothing wrong with the single stage press, but it really is one function at a time. A turret press allows you to set your dies up, and you could cycle between dies back and forth, put a case in, focus on one case at a time or one cartridge at a time. And if everything's working right and you've got all the options set up, you generally can put an empty case in and retrieve a completed case just by alternating the dies, cranking the handle, and completing that function. So really a convenience thing. Now, next up, a lot of your turret presses on the market are actually manually operated, where you select the die manually back and forth. Lee turret presses are unique in that because they are auto-indexing. I don't think anybody else makes an auto-indexing. I apologize if I don't know that, but as far as I know, auto-indexing is a Lee thing. And that is nice because you don't have to freeze a hand. It automatically moves you to the next station and completes the round that way. So that's something that I like. Some people take the rod out. They don't like that. Tomato, whatever works for you. I've always used it, and it's a function that I like. So probably the first thing you notice right away is that this turret press rotates in opposite direction than you used to with other Lee turret presses. So that's kind of the first sign that something is different. The next thing you'll notice is the turret itself is actually captive in the turret housing, meaning it doesn't come out unless you take these bolts out. It's intended for you to do that, but it's not the old turn, lift, and remove and replace a already set up turret. So that's quite a departure from the way they used to do things. This is with the way they have set it up now, is you take all your dies out, you leave the turret in place, assuming you want to use a 5-hole turret for everything. You leave the turret in place and you just remove your breech locks with the turn and drop, and you set the next die in for the next cartridge that you wish to work on. And now really the next biggest thing in my mind is the fact that you have an option for 3 different turrets and 4 different die options. Let me explain that. So there's a 4-hole turret and there's a 6-hole turret that I don't have yet. And so and the way you use the 4-hole turret is you change the indexing rod. The indexing rod has a different rotation twist in it for each different option to use. So if you're using a 4-hole turret, you've got a 90-degree twist. It's going to set you up. It's going to rotate at 90 degrees. This is a 5-hole turret with a 5-hole indexing rod, a 5-position indexing rod. So I'm going to get about 72 degrees of rotation. And then if I put the 6-hole in, I'm going to get, that'll be a turret or a indexing rod that gives me a 60-degree rotation each time. For the 3-hole option, the way they have it set up is you use the 6-hole turret and you skip every other die position, and then you use a 120-degree. They're all marked when you look at them. They're stamped to which one it is. So, but it'll have a 3 on it. But that indexing rod is going to rotate the head 120 degrees. So that's radically different, but it brings up a lot of options. So this is kind of like the Swiss Army knife of Lee Classic turret presses. So it might be useful to take a little bit of time and cover, since there's so many hole options in these turrets, it might be worth talking about how one might use it. So for instance, using it in a 3-hole configuration, why would somebody do that? And we can just, I don't have that one, but we can just kind of goof around here and simulate sort of how that might look in a 5-hole. Now, back in the day, oh, I got the wrong die there. So back in the day, a long time ago, lots of people had the Lee Pro 1000, I think it was. It's the one that had the red aluminum base on it. It was just a 3-hole turret. And you would use a sizing die, powder through die to charge and expand your case. We're talking pistol here. And then you would use the combination of a crimp and bullet seating die together. You use those together, and you probably use that on a jacketed bullet mostly. And there's been tons of rounds put together like that. And many, many rounds have been fired that way, many millions, I'm sure. So what that advantage has is if you can use a die that does bullet seating and crimping for the final step all in one stage, you only have to pull the handle 3 times to get a completed round. So there's an economy to that. And I think it's kind of a nice option. Next up, as time went by, we decided that we wanted a standalone crimp die, which is how we got to a 4-hole turret press. Still, that's a nice function. That's the Lee Classic turret press kind of standard setup. So you have a crimp and a separate die, basically. Now, in the 5-hole, you end up with the option to use inline bullet feeder. This thing is awesome. So you can see I've got a bullet feeder there. That's a 5-die configuration, very standard. I'm basically doing 4 dies, and I have an automatic inline bullet feeder, so I don't have to handle the bullets. It just delivers them with the normal stroke of the press. This is worth doing. So remember, every time you add a die position, you have to add a stroke of the handle to get a completed die on this style press. Now we move up to the 6 die, how you might use that. And there's a few ways. I'm sure creative people will come up with different things, but the one thing that I would think is you could use a powder cop in one of the position after the powder charging, just to show that you've got powder. Some people want to do that. They even have automated ones that would work off a battery and tell you, that you've got a full charge or stop because it's a light charge for whatever reason. That's one option. The other one is for guys that are shooting rifle with cast bullets. Now, with the cast bullets, in the standard setup that I'm familiar with, you have a powder charging die, rifle charging die, but it doesn't have any flaring in it like it does in the handgun. So you can use a flaring die in the next position, or maybe probably before. So sizing, flaring, powder drop, bullet drop, for your cast bullets. And that's a maximum of 6. I can't think of any other things that you want to do, but there's probably other stuff that you could do with configuration. But anyway, I just wanted to go over how a person might want to use those different options that are available now that we have so many holes to fill in a press. One way this is different from what we're used to is we're used to the old 4-sided ratchet housing. This one has what they call a clutch in it that can really engage in just about any degree of rotation. So, and it engages every time you come on the downstroke, and that's how it rotates using the indexing rod. So that's quite a bit different than we're used to. The other thing that is very, very different, and some people are not going to like this. For me, this took a little bit to get used to. There is no indexing ball in here. So this thing is just freewheel when it's in the downstroke. There's good reason for that, because if you're using different turrets with different hole patterns, there's going to be a different requirement for where you would stop using an indexing ball. But you don't get that click, 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 click as the die rotates, or you rotate to the next die. That is gone in this unit, and you can see why they had to do it. Functionally, it makes sense, but if you're used to that tactile feedback that you're used to getting in the sound and audibility and all that kind of stuff, this is going to seem quite a bit different to you. The way the alignment is accomplished, and this is intended to be an improvement here, is a very tight tolerance on an alignment pin that comes up through the turret and locks it in place. So depending on how you look at it, you'll see that as an improvement. Just know that we're missing the index ball, and it seems quite a bit different. It's arguably weird at first. Now, I've gotten used to it really quick. Just like the rotation, the different rotation, I thought it would be kind of weird for me because I've been using a classic turret press, but I didn't even think about it. But it is definitely different in terms of operation. So if this thing is off, your alignment pin's not going to line up, and it doesn't go to that. It's not going to self-fix. You have to actually manually adjust, line it up, and then the alignment pin comes through. But like I said, this is very tight, and it locks in very nicely. Now, once you're in alignment, because of the twist in the shaft, it's going to line up after that. So again, like I said, that's a little bit weird. I think that's going to bother some people. I think it's worth, just giving yourself a chance, get your mind around it, because it is quite a bit different way for it to work. Now, they actually tell you, which is, I think some people are going to think is kind of hokey, but they tell you to line it up, put the pin through, and then draw yourself a visual index line. And that's how you're going to actually station this thing, make sure that you're on track. Is it with that visual line? Yeah, I don't know what you guys are going to think of that. I'm curious to hear your response. In terms of operation, it hasn't been a big deal for me, not near like I thought it would be. All right, we talked about the fact that it doesn't have the indexing ball anymore, and how they want you to put an index mark up here so you have a visual reference. Works fine. I didn't have any trouble with it. But the one problem I did encounter, and that's why I set this up for you so I could illustrate, is because there's no index ball in there, there's nothing to really keep this from doing an overshoot, going past the point you want it to be at. So if you have weight up here and you go a little bit too fast, that weight will carry it past the index mark. Now the pinholes are countersunk, so it will pull it back and align it. But if you go too fast, you can move past your point, and then you have to manually correct it. So there's a little bit of a correction to how fast you want to run the handle. Now, when it comes to actually reloading, actually paying attention to what you're doing, I didn't have any trouble. I didn't find it to be an issue. Slow down just a little bit as the clutch releases on the bottom end, and you're fine. But it's a little bit of a, I don't know what you'd say, a behavior change to operate it successfully. But I could see this being frustrating for somebody who goes into it without knowing that that's a possibility. Anyway, I just want to make you aware of that. Another selling point on this press is that, in terms of accuracy and I guess precision, is that the turret is more captive than it's been in the past. So in this version, we are captive all the way around. We're supported all the way around. And in my measurements, the vertical tolerance, there's still a little bit of vertical play here. In my measurements, it is half of what I get off of my Lee classic turret press. Now, your mileage may vary, and machining tolerances are different. I just grabbed one turret for the Lee classic turret press, took a measurement. I was at 11 thousandths on it, and I was somewhere around 5 thousandths vertical on this one. So they've definitely tightened that up. That's kind of a repair of perception as opposed to something that was actually causing a problem. In the literature, they talk about die tipping, eliminating die tipping, or I guess turret tipping. I actually had never heard that term before. I did an internet search and I couldn't find it except in their own literature at Lee. So I don't really know what they're talking about. I guess what that means is there's a perception, somebody's probably complained to them that there's a perception that I come up under, on a die and the whole plate, it becomes lopsided. So I push up on one side and the other side doesn't get pushed up equally. And so maybe I'm getting an angle change on the way the die contacts the shell holder, aka the brass. Now, I've done extensive testing on the classic turret press, and I haven't been able to find any concentration issues that are induced into the brass by the press itself, or any die tipping or anything like that. So it's interesting that it's in there. I'm not really sure the background on that. Maybe some of you guys know more than me. I don't know. Not something I've ever experienced, but like I said, they kind of had a little bit of war on perception rather than maybe reality here, but that's apparently driven some of the design here. All right, so we're all set up here. These dies go in a certain order. There's a little, for the indexing rod has a little relief here, and it's going to be pointed at this position, and that's how you get your shell kicker in the right place. I wasn't sure if I would use any of that stuff, but I'll tell you what, after trying it, the catcher and all that, it works really nice, and it's actually a really nice feature. I didn't think I would use it, but I've been trying it out, and I think I'm already at the point where I might miss it if I didn't use it. So we're going to put a case in there. These are going to be dummies. We're not going to put a primer or anything in it. I just want to show you what it looks like. This is for the YouTube audience, so you have to be careful with YouTube. So we're just going to make a dummy round. This is just to show the function of this. I'm going to go ahead and put this on here and show you how this lines up, if you can see it. So you come up in sizing die, take a primer. I'm not going to put a primer, but the primer, the Lee Safety Prime, this is the same one they've been using for a while. This lines up really nice, and the interface is really good. And I haven't had any problems with it. It's worked perfectly. So done quite a few already, and really happy with that. So anyway, we'll get this out of the way so you can see better. We come down, we go up into the powder through die, activate the empty auto disc or auto drum. Now this is the inline bullet feeder. So watch this thing. This thing, I've been using it, and it has worked perfectly every time. It is literally the cat's pajamas. Sets it up, bring it into the bullet seating die, into the crimp die, and a completed round drops into the basket. In terms of automation, this is pretty nice. While you still get to focus on, what's going on with one cartridge at a time. I'm pretty excited about that. Guys, I'm going to leave this here. This is already getting long, and we're going to go ahead and I'll put together another video in the future. If you have any input that you'd like to give me, or there's any questions or things that I could cover better or whatever, I'll try to work it into that video. Bottom line with the product, am I happy with my purchase? Yeah, this thing's awesome. I'm happy to have it. I'm already adjusted to its little idiosyncrasies. Having the extra bullet feeder, the extra fifth hole to run a bullet feeder, that is really, really nice. And for me, I'm a turret press guy. I still want to see the creation of each round. I want to feel the seating of the bullet. I want to make sure the powder dumps, so this is as far as I want to go. I don't want a progressive press, but this is as close as you can get to it, I'm sure. Yeah. So anyway, I like it. Like I said, I probably made maybe too big a deal of the overshoot of the turret going past if you move the handle too far, but I think that's something that's worth knowing. And I'm aware that this is a brand new product, so I know there's some changes. There's always some revisions and things like that happen, but anyway, like I said, I'm happy with it. It's great. Appreciate all the likes and subscribes. Keeps me going. And if you don't mind, check me out on Rumble. It's Treetop Flyer, F-L-I-E-R on Rumble. You can put that in the search window and I'll come right up. And check it out. Hit a subscribe. Let's expand our horizons a little bit. Also, the Reloaders Network. Don't forget to go over there. A lot of guys doing good work over there. You'll make some friends. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.